Yo guys, what's going on? It's Catman227 here, and I'm back with some more Junkensteins Revenge, aka Gameplay Breakdown. And in today's video, we are taking a look at Torbjorn. Now, Torbjorn I saved for the last DPS for a special reason, because there's a lot to talk about. So, Torb, as you know, throws a turret. Well, there's a lot of different ways that you can use Torb in Junkensteins Revenge. There's a lot of creative ways, although sometimes it's a little bit harder to pull off than others. But I'll explain that in a bit. So, the way that I personally use Torb is I just absolutely abuse the ever-living fuck out of his turret. Because the turret is essentially kind of like Bob. It's essentially a fifth gun on the field. That's basically another player that's doing damage. And now that you can control where the turret shoots by doing damage to a Zomnik yourself, so if you wanted to make the turret focus on a boss, you shoot the boss, and it will continuously shoot at that until you damage something else. And then it'll start shooting at the last thing that you shot at. But right here is probably the most common place for most people's turrets, because it can see over the entire battlefield. You know, it has a good access to that door that it's currently shooting at. It's got good access to the center, and it kind of has decent access to the top high ground up there. The problem with it is that it will prioritize the two closer doors. So Torb can come up here and just demolish everything with his gun. So it's kind of like, because it'll prioritize the things that you shoot at. So if it's up here, then it's gonna shoot at the last Zomnik that you shot at. Which I kind of wish it didn't do that. I kind of wish, like, while I was shooting up here, it would be shooting at the door furthest from me. But, you know, you take what you can get. As you can see, you can kind of see the turret blasting these guys. But, now, you could also put it up on the high ground, like, kind of like where Junkenstein normally spawns. You can put it up there, and it'll just fire down on everything, because the Zomniks will not target the turret specifically. So you can put it in areas that are, like, you could put it behind the Zomniks, so it's shooting them in the back. It doesn't do headshots, at least I don't think it does, because it can't aim for the head. But you don't want it to get destroyed, so obviously you'd want to put it in an area where it's not going to get damaged by, you know, Roadhog's ultimate or something like that. And what you would do is you take the turret, you put it like where the summoner normally spawns, to where it can look down, you know, and see the whole battlefield. Like right there, you could probably put it where Reaper spawns, and it'll shoot Reaper a little bit. You could put it where Junkenstein normally spawns at, because they're not going to shoot the turret directly. So if you find little placements like that, you can even put it where the Widowmaker is currently, like up on that little wooden perch. You can toss it up there. It's a little bit difficult to do, and you do have to angle it right, but it is definitely possible to do, although I wouldn't advise it, because you kind of need it in an area that Torb can go and repair it if he has to. I mean, there's not really much point in repairing it, but if, you know, it's just to say, if you wanted to repair it, you have access to it, as to opposed to throwing it on the perch, you wouldn't be able to do that. But yeah, the turret is definitely your main priority. You really want to keep that up as much as possible, especially if you're doing endless, because Torb can do a massive amount of damage just by himself. You add that turret in, though, the turret is really where he starts to shine. And you know, it's just it's a fifth gun on the field, because you only get 4 players. So if you have, you know, he's really good with Ash, because Ash has Bob, and Bob is essentially a temporary turret. So if you put Bob on the field, and, you know, the Ash player is spamming Bob and actually got him on the field at the right times, then the turret can stay up all the time, and Bob can come out during like the bosses, which is what I personally recommend. He's good for crowd control too, but it's just to say, he's better for bosses. Now, let's get on. Enough about the turret. Let's get on to his abilities. So obviously, you want to use overload with your primary weapon, because your primary fire is made for long range. Your secondary fire is made for short range. But what I would do is just use your secondary fire. I don't really use. Okay, so you'll notice me a lot spamming the my ultimate here. The only reason I'm doing that is because I want to crowd control. So I don't really see the point in using Molten Core to kill bosses, because the bosses can just walk out of it, as to opposed to the Zomnics that just walk forward in a straight line. So you can use that to kill the Zomnics. I personally would not recommend using Molten Core on any of the bosses except Junkenstein, because he doesn't go anywhere. So you can maybe shoot a pool of lava up there, and then the rest of it you can use for the Zomnics. So just put like a little, just squirt it a little bit where Junkenstein spawns at, and then leave it at that. Like, don't put the whole thing up there. Like, don't use your entire ultimate on where Junkenstein's at, because he's just going to stay in that one area. So use your ultimate to use the crowd control, kind of like what I do here, and then you can spread it out, and then it just kills a lot of Zomnics. Now, the primary weapon, your primary weapon, I would definitely use for bosses, like so, because it does the most damage at close range. So what you'd want to do is don't use. I see so many Torbs, they spam their overload, and that's not good, because you want to wait for the bosses to spawn, so that way you can pop overload and just start pelting them with shotguns. So what you do is you pop it, and it makes you shoot faster and reload faster and everything like that. So you want to get point blank, because your shotgun mode is going to do, like, your secondary fire is going to do the most damage. So you want to pop overload, get right up to whatever boss you're attacking, and then just start firing into it. Just start hammering him with that. So, you use your secondary fire combined with your overload ability. And that's going to be able to kill a lot of bosses really quick. Now, if you're really good with his primary fire, go ahead and shoot them in the head. Like, aim for headshots. That's what I do most of the time, is I will aim for headshots, because Torb does do a lot of damage. Like, he might be a little pea shooter, but his little gun sure does pack a punch if you can aim your headshots right. And if you combine it with the overload, you can just start spamming at head level and just get dink, 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 dink. You can just keep getting head dinks for days, and it works tremendously. And it does do a lot of damage on a body shot as well. But if you really need to cut down Riptires are... Torb's a good character to take out Riptires as well. Again, kind of like Tracer, you don't want to just go after it. And like, if you just so happen to see one and you are able to shoot at it, then yeah, take some shots at it. You can pop overload and just start spamming primary fire just to kind of finish it off. Your turret will sometimes target the Riptire as well, although it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. But yeah, definitely, if you see a Riptire, don't go out of your way to shoot at it. Like, if you're caught up doing other things like targeting a boss or whatever, and there's like an Ashe or a Brig or a Widow or a Cassidy, or maybe even Soldier, then those are probably better characters to kill the Riptire than Torb. But Torb is still a viable option. So, because most of the game I'm camping up here while my turret guards the other side. So that's kind of the strat with Torb, at least in my opinion. What you'd want to do is just keep this area on lockdown. See, and then I pop Molten Core, or pop, not Molten Core, I'm used to his old ultimate, but Overload, and then I just start popping shots at him, and then he dies. So, that, I kind of just threw that out there willy-nilly, just to kind of show you that it's not a good idea to do that, because, as you can see, he just walks right out of it. But he's also the last boss, so we're going to kill him. We know we're going to kill him. It's just, I don't know, Torb's one of those characters where it's like, you need to play him a very specific way. You got to put your turret somewhere on the opposite end of the map. So if you're going to camp at a door, just keep that door on lockdown and put your turret as far away from you as possible. And if it goes down, then you just leave, you go put it up, and then you come back to where you were originally. Or just repair it if it really starts to get low and you just don't feel like replacing it. But anyway, if you guys have enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know which character you'd like me to review next. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Later.